Here alongside Charlie Duffy. And Charlie, full disclosure for everybody, we've talked before. Story has kind of changed. We're going to publish our former story probably after this comes out as well, going through your physical therapy. For those that don't know, Charlie had cerebral palsy and still does, and you're battling that now. So I guess where we want to start is just, how's it been the last few months for you? How's life?
It's been really good, super refreshing. And I've just spent a lot of time just being a teenager and just not worrying about much, just having fun mostly.
So I could probably give a dictionary definition of what cerebral palsy is, but in your words, for everyone that doesn't know, what is it?
So cerebral palsy is for me, I've always had it for so long, they never really definition told me. But it's basically where my brain and my muscles don't align correctly. And your brain sends signals down to your muscles, mine has some sort of disconnect. So that results in my muscles being super tight and in the end very painful. And there's so many different cases of CP. Some kids are in walkers and wheelchairs. Mine is just the left side of my body. So it's just that disconnect with my muscles and my brain.
So you kind of got to live life fairly normally from what I remember. You had surgeries when you were younger, when you were 7. You had your big surgery and kind of got to live the normal teenage life, and you still are, but you had to have that surgery again. What's the adjustment been like, kind of realizing okay, I'm not as normal as maybe I was starting to think I am. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Normal is not even necessarily a good thing in a lot of cases. So what's it been like kind of coming to grips with that?
It's been a huge perspective thing for me. Being able to see that just in one day how much things can change, and how before I took so much for granted, simply literally just running or getting out of bed or stuff like that. Those are things you do every single day without thinking of, and for me to have those gone just in one day, it was a big perspective thing. And I think everything happens for a reason, and the person I am now is because of those surgeries that I've had recently. And I think it's just taught me to be an advocate for myself and others. And before, I was good at it, but now I realize that that's my true calling. And I just feel everything happens for a reason.
So that's your true calling. And before, I kind of buried the lead here a little bit, but softball, that's what you were playing, freshman on varsity.
Yes.
Day after your first game, that's when you find out you need to have the surgery again. So that was sort of your life, your identity, softball player, not necessarily what you had growing up, but softball became that, and now it sounds like you're learning that's not your identity.
So originally the recovery for my surgery was going to be just 8 weeks, and that's what it was for my first surgery. 8 weeks later, I was running and everything, and there was not complications. My body just took longer than it needed to heal. So in January, I needed another surgery, and they did a bone graft, and they put new, bigger hardware in, and they also said that recovery would be 2 weeks, and it set me way back. And it was defeating, the most defeating thing I've ever gone through, to have these dates of when I was going to be back, and then the dates roll around, and I'm still stuck at home. And for me, my mental health just, not skyrocketed, that's the exact wrong word. It just got so bad. And I fell into comparison, because I'm still watching my teammates play. I'm still watching all of my friends at school do the things they love. And it was just super defeating knowing that I should be out there and I'm not. And I also was getting mad at myself, why am I not healing? Because at the end of the day, it's my body. What am I doing wrong? And, things change. And I was surrounded by such a great community at my school. I go to a Christian school. And we kind of just always talked about how, your plan may seem how you want it. You may have all these due dates and these timelines, and you're never going to meet those if that's all you think about. And for me, that's just everything I thought about. I had a calendar, this is when I was going to be back. First it was Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and then my birthday. And, once all those dates came, I found myself more defeated than I was before, because it's I waited so long for this. And I kind of had that, like, perspective change. Like, maybe this isn't my plan. This is my plan, but, like, not God's plan for me. And that's something I had to, like, truly accept, and it was not easy. It wasn't something that just clicked overnight. Day by day, I was starting to realize, like, there is way more to life than what I'm keeping in my bubble. And I feel like that surgery is what opened my eyes to it.
I think that's something that I've heard a lot of. It's we make plans and God laughs. And I think that's a real thing that many of us experience in different ways. I think athletes in particular, it's something that happens, eventually, you plan on playing as long as you can. And then, in some cases there's kids that I went to school with in journalism school. They're in journalism because they weren't good enough to play in high school, or they're like me and they got hurt, or they played in college. Now they're a graduate student, but eventually it came to an end. For you now, you're 16, junior, and you had those plans, those big dreams for it, and it kind of comes crashing down. You talked about how you kind of, are building that identity now away from it. So what's it like just to navigate, like, probably not playing again, moving on to find yourself now? Because you just said, like, there's a lot more things in your life that you want to do, and you're starting to see that.
Obviously, I still think about softball and everything, and I still surround myself with that community. Like, I still want to be involved with sports, and I see myself, like, coaching in the future and stuff like that. But for me, it's really hard because a lot of my friends still play softball, and junior year is the recruiting year for softball. So it's kind of like, and also step back, like, oh, like, that could have been me right now. But at the same time, you have to think about, like, if that's not me right now, then, like, what can I be doing instead? Like, what am I trying to say? All my friends are just recruiting, and it's like, that could be really hard for me because that was supposed to be me. And just because it was supposed to be me doesn't mean that's who I have to be. And, I mean, I've been surrounded by such amazing people that made me realize that, like, sports is not my identity. I love sports. I love softball. I love my coaches. All of my coaches were great throughout this whole thing. And it's just basically, like, sometimes you just grow up and things happen in your life that you would have never have thought of, and you can't plan for those things. You just kind of have to go with the flow and just, like, not force anything.
I think that's something that you kind of have a skill at, that there's a lot of people that really struggle with that for a long time. And I know you have struggled with it, and you're still struggling with it, and that's okay too. And it seems like you understand that. Is there advice you'd give to, even teammates now when they realize, junior year goes by and they're not being recruited, and, like, maybe softball's not for them, or they have something happen to them? Like, is there advice that you'd offer somebody, or is it more a case-by-case basis for people from how you see it?
I mean, what people have told me is that, like, sports has taught so many of us so many things, like leadership, like about our body, how to stay fit, like what being in a team looks like. But as you get older, and especially, like, for, like, me and my friends, like, we've played sports at a high level since we were, like, 10, and, like, walking away from those sports could be like walking away from your life. Like, legitimately, me and my old teammates, like, it was softball, workouts, tournaments, like, that's all we did. And walking away from that could feel like you're letting yourself down, but also your family. That's what was really hard for me, was walking away from it, and also making my parents walk away from the sports, because my sister played club softball, and then they watched me. And for me, it was like my parents watched my last softball game without realizing it was my last softball game. So I kind of let their feelings in, and, like, that's what I was holding on to. And then I realized that their feelings aren't the ones playing the game.
Right.
And I kind of, like, had to put my feelings first in that aspect. And just that sports is not the only thing in life. Like, there's so much more that you can see and do, and it's hard for club athletes. That's really hard because that's what your life has become, is just sports. But I, like, tell some of my teammates, like, there's just so much more out there, and not trying to tell them to quit. But, like, if it's legitimately not something you love and can do with a full heart, that just puts you in a bad habit for things in the future.
To be honest, that kind of just gave me a moment of reflection too, because I remember twice having that feeling of letting your parents down for stuff. The first one was I played the trumpet all the way through middle school and started in high school along with playing water polo and baseball. So that balance over time was like, I know my parents really want me to be in band still, but have to let that go because I'm the athlete. That was the identity I gave myself. And then it was when I decided, okay, I'm going to have surgery on my UCL, drop my college scholarship in the state that my dad lived in. It was, dang, they poured in so much time and money and all those travel ball, and that's what they wanted from me so bad, and here I am not able to do that. And you don't think about it at the time maybe, but, well, you did. Sounds like you kind of had thought about it a little bit. And so I think that's very difficult for people to realize, because we do things to please our parents, we do things to please the people around us, but sometimes you kind of have to have that inward reflection of, it's not for me, and it might hurt some people around me that love me, but at the end of the day, they're going to be just fine, and so am I, moving on to the best things.
Yeah, they'd be more happy knowing that you're happy.
Yeah, that's a really hard one. I want to stay, kind of on, first off, you're 16 and you do so many incredible things. I mean, I saw your Instagram, you did a day in the life where, it reminds me of me even in community college, where you're, okay, I go to the gym, I go to school, I do my worship, hang out with community and friends, get all the work done and all that.
It's a lot in one day.
Yeah, how do you do it?
I don't know. I love taking naps. Naps
are great.
Yes. But I've noticed that when I took a step back from being so busy and from sports, I kind of just got lost in my own head, and I became lazy and everything. But when my schedule is jam-packed, that's when I'm gonna be the best version of myself, because that's all I know is going fast-paced and still keeping my body moving as an athlete, because my body was so used to workouts every single day, all day. So that's what really brings peace to my mind, is being able to move my body. And every time I work out, I just think about how one day I wasn't able to work out, and how each day now I want to move my body while I still have the opportunity. Because that's something I never thought about before. It's oh my gosh, I hate conditioning, I hate running, all of these things. And then when you can't do that, that's all you want to do. And now I'm on the cusp of being able to run. I'm I just want to run so bad. But I would have never said that before. So it's just the biggest thing is just my mind has changed throughout all.
So I think that's, something that a lot of people could take away, because, there's I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, but it sounds like you've kind of figured out already, the things that I want to prioritize in my life, I'm going to make time for. I'm going to make time for the gym. I'm going to make time for God. I'm going to make time for things like that. I guess that kind of leads me into faith. It's obviously a big part of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that journey been like through this process last year? Because I know it could be challenging, just personally or mentally, but I think spiritually too, it sounds like it could be pretty challenging with the things you've gone through this year.
So I wasn't always a Christian. I go to a Christian school, so many of my friends have grown up in the Christian household and just kind of always known God. But I didn't know God till I was 13, during COVID, I would say. And then this whole time, you have your whole school praying for you and saying it's God's plan and that his plans are bigger than ours. But for me, that was so hard to accept that it was out of my control, and someone in a higher power had the control. And it was just all I wanted was control. And I was super faithful my first surgery, but then when it came to my surgery in January, I was just so mad. And I'll be completely honest, I just totally shut the door on God. I didn't want anything to do with him. I was just so angry. And then for 5 months, and I go to a Christian school, that's not easy to do. I had to purposely do that. And then I went to summer camp with my school, and that's when I just that's when it all fell into place, that everything that went wrong, everything that went right, it happened for a reason, and I'm here right now for that reason. And all of those were kind of steps to get me to where I am now. And I would say God and having something to hold on to during this recovery has literally saved me. Something that I can read my Bible and just read truth. And because I feel at my age and my circumstances, all I'm reading is possibilities and dates and not promises and everything. And at the end of the day, I can go and just fully just relax and be easy. And I would just say I couldn't do it alone. My school has been there for me. After my surgery in January, I went back to school, and we have chapels on Wednesday. And I was in my wheelchair, and I rolled all in and did my entrance, and I had my whole school pray for me. And it was not many people get to go their life having 500 people pray for them. And so that's something that I just kind of soaked in knowing that, like, I'm so blessed to be where I am now, and that everything I went through before happened to get me to where I am right now.
And now it's all just part of your testimony when that time comes too. Another thing I wanted to touch on, motivational speaking. I know we talked last time, one of the first things was, a school in New York.
Yes,
Teacher was sharing your story, and you went out and flew there because they all wrote you stuff, and you did that, and that was kind of your taste of it. Is that something you see?
It was so fun. I had such a great time speaking with them. And it was just so, like, I guess the whole time with my story, I'm like, why do people, like, want to listen to my story? Like, I'm just like, obviously my scenario is not normal, but it's like, I feel like there's so many people with cooler stories. And that kind of, like, defeats me sometimes. It's just like, why me? But then, like, speaking to these kids and seeing, like, their faces light up, or, like, the girls would come up to me after and just, like, tell me what they've been going through, and I'm like, that's why it's me. Like, I'm touching these girls and these boys and all of these people, like, it's because of me that's just kind of, it was just so, like, crazy. I'm only 16 and talking to hundreds of kids about my story and, like, inspiring them. And I've had speakers come to my school and, like, you think about them every single day for, like, the rest of your life. It's like, that's crazy that I'm probably one of those people to those kids. It's just, like, an awe.
Right.
Like, I'm only 16.
Yeah, everyone. She's only 16 years old. Like, what were you doing at 16? I don't think you were going and flying across the country to go speak to a class. I know I wasn't. And, it's remarkable to kind of sit back and reflect on.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something you see yourself doing more and more as the years go by now? And
I just find it so rewarding, and, like, knowing that I've had so many people, like, pour into me, and, like, having the opportunity to pour into other people is just super, like, I guess, like, just refreshing, and knowing that it all happened for a reason.
What's it like just kind of shaping, the things that you want to do? I know you've touched a little bit on, maybe coaching, being around sports, that. Obviously, you're still only a junior in high school, so you still got, potentially college and things like that down the road. But what do you think is next?
Algebra class.
I'll be honest, Algebra 2 was not my forte. That's when math got hard for me. So
I'm just not a math girl or English. I'm like a lunch girl.
Lunch girl?
Socialize. After college, I really want to become a nurse still and work with, like, pediatrics. I'm starting to serve at my church in the special needs ministry. I just put in my application for that. And I don't ever want to, like, plan something to the T just because I've seen that happen and it not work out. So I guess that's something that I'm, like, still working on. But I'm just going with the flow.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the most important things you can do. Like, one of the phrases I live by that's not from the Bible, but I feel like holds a lot of truth, is kind of be open to everything and attached to nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's something that you're kind of embodying right now, where you've been, you had your plans, and now you're kind of realizing, well, the way I plan things isn't always going to happen that way. So I think it's one of the most difficult and maybe annoying questions in high school is, what are you going to do after?
I know.
What's next? And
that's
it's like,
everyone's question now. Oh my guys, I'm only 16.
So I had to ask it, but it is true. It's one of the most difficult questions because, like, I know I never thought I'd be doing what I do now, and there are the rare people that just kind of always felt it early on at a young age, and everything worked that way. But you don't have to have the answers. That's okay. It's good to know. Now, the training. So, physical therapy here. It seems like it's going well. Obviously, your timetable for softball was way different than you ended up expecting.
Yeah.
What's it been like? This summer? I haven't seen you since May. Just kind of getting to. You said you're close to running again.
Yeah, we're doing a lot more, like, fast pace walking, like fast movements, jumping, stuff like that. So that's been really fun to get out and do, like, things that, like, move my body, other than, like, before I was doing, like, toe raises and, like, calf raises. And for me that was super hard because I was like, I could do these so easily before. Like, I could run miles, and now I get tired after, like, 5 minutes walking on the treadmill. So, like, each time we do, like, we stack on it, and, like, we're starting to do, like, more fun things. Like, I brought my skateboard, and we, like, skate on the Ultra G, and it's just kind of just working on running is the main thing right now.
Back to kind of you as a person a little bit. I know I'm kind of going all over the place. It's just how my brain works, I guess. Your Instagram, what can people learn from there? Because you said something last time where it's, I used to only post the highlights, and now I share everything. Mm-hmm. And I see that when I see your Instagram page, and I think that's something that's really unique, because not a lot of people do that, but it obviously lands with people. Mm-hmm. What's it like for you just to realize that you share parts of your life that maybe you wouldn't have, 2 years ago, but you're seeing that it is helping people in different ways?
Well, like, for me, it was hard with my recovery, because I'm having so many bad days, and when I go to Instagram, I follow lots of, motivational people. I'm like, they never have bad days. I only see their good days. Why am I having so many bad days compared to them? And then it was kind of they don't post it. That's why. They don't want people to see that they have bad days. And especially being a girl on social media, you see so many just models and just influencers. They have the perfect life. It's they have the perfect life because they don't show you the imperfections of their life. And it was just that didn't sit right for me, knowing that there's other girls probably going through the same thing I'm going through, and they have that same mindset. And one day I was just having a bad day, and I was I need to post something. I'm I'll just post this. It can't hurt. And that video blew up, and it was eye-opening. These people probably all thought the same thing I was thinking, and now they see someone who's struggling, but knowing it's okay to struggle and then bounce back the next day, that is okay, and it's normal to feel all of these emotions. And it was just so weird you didn't see that before. And I never realized how many people thought the same as me. I thought I was alone, and I wasn't at all.
I think you could do a whole TED Talk on that, honestly, because it's so true. I mean, if you see some videos, the harms of social media and all that, and that's part of it. It's, you got to show all your best stuff, and the bad stuff just doesn't exist if it's not on social media, right? It's
Exactly.
Take a picture, it didn't happen.
Exactly.
That saying, there's a lot of that now with kids growing up especially, and it's really cool and empowering to see that. This is going to be another big question, probably almost as rough as what's next and what are you going to do, but I want to ask it anyways. Who is Charlie Duffy? Who is
Whoa.
she? And she's changing.
Yes.
You're changing a lot, so it's flowing and ebbing, but
okay.
Who are you right now?
I would say I am someone who's gone through a lot at such a young age, but those events have sculpted me into who I am today. And I feel I wouldn't have the same mindset as I do right now if I just had this picture-perfect life. And I feel I would not be impacting the people that I impact on a daily basis. And I feel I was dealt a really, really bad card, but I turned around and I made the most out of it. And I continue to find that pocket of peace of each day, knowing each day I got to wake up, and each day I got the opportunity to do more, and I want to do more with the opportunity. And it's just all I can say is I'm just still in awe. And coming to PT and having a couple little kids, just they're always so excited to see me in the gym. It's just that's why I do it, is for those people who are in the same position as me, but they feel so alone, because at one point I felt so alone, and there's just so many people that could relate to everyone's story. That's
really, really powerful. I think there's no better way to describe yourself than that, honestly. I mean, think about it. You didn't say, this person, I'm a softball player. You didn't say any of that. You said, here's what I embody, here's the impact. I think that's something that if people were to look themselves in the mirror, if they're doing it for the first time, because a lot of people don't spend the time to kind of introspect like that, they would want those things eventually once they realize that. So you're 16 and already kind of understand that. It blows my mind. I hope everyone watching it blows your mind too, because, look at your own self, no matter your age. I don't think you're necessarily thinking like that. And that's not a knock on anybody. I think it's trauma kind of creates, growing up faster or doing things like that. Do you relate to that?
Yeah, that's what I talk about a lot on my Instagram, just because I know the surgery in May and January, I was so much older, so I remember and retain so much more from the hospital. And just simple things like the smell of my hospital room. I'll be walking at school and I'll just get a whiff of the smell, and it just totally just alters my brain, and I'm I just need a second. And that was super hard for me to understand because it's like I didn't have that before. Like, why am I always thinking about the hospital? Like, why am I always like just like smelling the smells or like certain things, like I haven't touched the dress that I was wearing when they told me I needed surgery. Like simple things like that, I would have never imagined myself to be like fit in that category of having trauma. And like when I did, I was like, well, this is weird. But then I was like, my Instagram is like there to help people, but it's also like my little like diary, like my place where I can go and just be open. And so I like made a video about it, and so many people are like that happens to me too. It's like, this is normal. Like, why is this not taught? Why is this not out there on the internet for other people to know it's normal? So that's like what I've been focusing on, is realizing, is for people to realize that if you don't feel normal, like it's because, what am I trying to say? See, when I talk, I just like jumble. It's just, when I feel so like out of place, I know like there is a place for me. And so many other people feel out of place, but like there's a place for you, and that everything happened, like it happens for a reason. And I know that's not easy to say like in the moment. Like I would not be saying that when I was in the hospital.
No.
Or like in the pain. I'm like, oh, this happens for a reason, guys. But like you truly realize it happens for a reason afterwards. Like everything that happened to me got me to where I am right now.
Happens for you, not to you. I just heard that the other day.
Really?
And that was really, heard it in church actually. It was really, really powerful. Things happened for you, not to you. And I think, you know, everything could have its own benefits, no matter how hard it is, as long as you're still here and kicking and alive. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all you can really ask for, right?
Yeah, in chapel last Wednesday, we talked about how, like, your story is, like, already written. Like, everything that's going to happen is all played out, and all you have to do is trust. And for me, that was so hard. Like, am I playing softball again? Like, am I going to need surgery again? Like, what is in store for my future? And I talked to one of my teachers, and she was like, he knows what's in store for you. Like, he knows what's going to happen. Like, all you have to do is just trust him, and, like, you will feel so much at ease. Because I was so stressed out about what is going to happen next week. What is going to be the next doctor appointment look like? Like, will I ever be back on the softball field? Stuff like that. It's, like, so much pressure and so much stress that I was feeling. And then I realized, like, it's already played out. All I have to do is just trust it. And, like, when you don't trust it, that's when you feel stress and anxiety. And that's what was happening in me after my January surgery. And then once I, like, just learned that it's all played out, all I have to do is just go along with it and trust it. Like, that just brought me so much peace in mind.
You walked in with a skateboard. Is that part of it now, too?
Yes. I used to skateboard all the time before my big surgery. And snowboard. So hopefully Adelie will let me snowboard this winter. Hopefully.
Snowboarding's a lot of fun. Go up to the snow bowl?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's
fun.
on the wall of things you want to get back to eventually.
Yes, but Adelie said it's a little too dangerous. I'm like, I'll just send her pictures like on the ski lift.
I'm sure she would appreciate that.
No, she would send it to my surgeon.
Why does she have to come? Oh, she went snowboarding. Got it. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's really all I got. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank
and,
you.
yeah, keep doing what you're doing and impacting people.
Thank you.